It doesn't matter if you fall. What matters is that you rise again. Vince Lombardi. Most people fear losing everything: their savings, their work, their achievements, their years of effort. But what if I told you that one of history's greatest minds, a man who built dreams with his bare hands, watched his entire life's work go up in flames, and he smiled? Tonight's story is about a fire that destroyed an empire but could not touch the spirit of the man who built it. This is the story of Thomas Edison, and the night the world expected him to break, but instead, he chose to rise. In his 70s, an age when most have long retired, Thomas Edison still worked with the curiosity of a child and the discipline of a soldier. His laboratory was enormous, a maze of inventions, tools, machines, wires, prototypes, and half-finished experiments. The place was the beating heart of his life's work. It was his sanctuary, his playground, his world, and it held the results of decades of trial, failure, discovery, and triumph. Late into the evening, lights often glowed from the factory windows as Edison experimented, tinkered, thinking not of age, but of possibility. He had given everything to that place. And then, one night, the unthinkable happened. It began quietly. A spark in a corner of the factory where chemicals were stored. Within minutes, flames spread like a living creature, hungry, unstoppable. When workers rushed to sound the alarm, the fire was already roaring, leaping across beams, devouring everything in its path. By the time fire trucks arrived, the blaze was so massive that the heat could be felt from blocks away. People gathered in stunned silence, watching an empire burn. And in the crowd was a young man named Charles, Thomas Edison's son. His breath caught in his throat as he watched flames explode through the windows, the inferno consuming the only world his father had ever known. He whispered to himself, "This will destroy him. This will kill him." And he ran toward the fire. When Charles reached the factory, his fear turned to confusion. There, just a few feet from the burning building, stood Thomas Edison. Not in shock, not collapsed, not weeping. He was watching the flames like a man watching the ocean. Calm, still, almost serene. The fire painted his face in shades of gold and red. His eyes reflected the dancing flames, as though he were studying something beautiful. Charles rushed toward him. "Father!" he cried, breathless. "Everything is burning! All your work, all your experiments, they're gone! Aren't you upset? Aren't you angry?" Edison slowly turned to him, a faint smile touching his lips, and he said something that Charles would remember for the rest of his life. "My dear son, don't be afraid. There's nothing to worry about. Look at the colors of those flames. Yellow, red, violet. Aren't they magnificent? No one will ever see something like this again." Charles stared at him stunned. His father wasn't broken. He wasn't mourning. He was marveling. After a moment, Edison gently rested a hand on his son's shoulder and said, "My boy, everything in there, all the experiments, all the mistakes, they are gone. But that is not a tragedy. Charles could barely breathe. Edison continued, "What matters isn't what we've lost. What matters is what we will build next. There's great value in losing everything. It clears the way for new creation." Charles realized then that his father was not watching destruction. He was watching a clean slate, a beginning disguised as an ending. That night, long past midnight, Edison stood quietly until the last embers fell. He didn't rage against fate. He didn't curse misfortune. He simply watched, calmly, curiously, as the old world burned. By sunrise, while ashes still smoldered, Thomas Edison called his employees together. His voice was steady, unbroken. "Go home," he told them, "and rest. We begin rebuilding tomorrow." Some workers cried, others stared at him in admiration. In the middle of devastation, he stood like a lighthouse, unmoved, guiding, bright. And in less than a year, Edison rebuilt the entire complex, newer, stronger, better. And from that rebuilt lab came some of his greatest innovations, including the phonograph, the invention that captured and replayed the human voice, a miracle the world had never heard before. People later asked Edison how he had remained so calm while his life's work was burning before his eyes. He gave a simple answer: "Because the fire destroyed my mistakes, not my mind, not my spirit." Those words carried weight because they were true. He believed deeply in one philosophy: failure is not the end, loss is not the end, disaster is not the end. The only real ending is when a person refuses to begin again. Edison had fallen countless times, thousands of experiments, endless failures, but every time he rose. The fire was just another fall, and rising was simply what he did. Some stories remind us of pain. Others remind us of beauty. But this one reminds us of resilience, the quiet, unshakable kind that grows in the spaces where life cracks open. Edison watched his world burn and still chose wonder. He saw devastation and still chose hope. He faced loss and still chose creation. And maybe that's the lesson life whispers to all of us. You cannot always control what you lose, but you can always choose what you build next. When the plans fall apart, when the job disappears, when the relationship ends, when the dream slips through your fingers, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to despair, the other to possibility. And the difference between the two is not luck, not timing, not circumstance. It is courage. Courage to begin again when you are tired. Courage to rebuild when you feel empty. Courage to believe that what comes next can be even better than what was lost. Edison didn't mourn the ashes. He honored them because they cleared space for something new to grow. And maybe, if you look closely at your own life, you'll find that your ashes are not an ending either, just the soil where your next miracle will take root. Some endings are only doorways in disguise. I hope you walk confidently into the ones waiting for you. Every story is a whisper of life. May yours be one that spreads kindness,